Okay, so now that we have a sketch, and I definitely recommend posting it to Canvas as part of your process, it's one of your requirements. Now we're going to learn how to use that digitized sketch, whether it's drawn by hand or drawn in the computer, and start building components on top of it. So that's largely what we're going to be doing today. So I open up Photoshop, and I can also do this in Photopea, and I might do it both ways. And the first thing I need to do is decide, if I've done multiple sketches, which one I'm more excited about doing. And I think for something that's high concept like Candyland, where it's already going to be a little bit of a challenge to sell the audience on the fact that it's a landscape, I think I'm just going to go ahead and use a horizontal format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my rulers are turned on. This is the same in Photopea and Photoshop. If you do not see rulers, hit Command R, or if you're on a PC, Control R, and you'll see the rulers at the sides. Then use your Move tool, the top tool, and just drag guides down to roughly around your sketch. You can have a little extra space. Don't crop into your sketch. Like that. So these guides then give you perfect horizontals and verticals. Then for the first time, we're going to use the crop tool, which is about 5 tools down. Looks like 2 kind of crossbars. And we're going to make sure that when we have the crop tool selected, that the options are clear. And if they're not clear, we're going to click on clear. Because the crop tool can be used to kind of limit your size to a square or to like a 5x7 format. But we don't want it to force into any format. Instead, we just want to click on our guides and crop around the sketch we want to use. You can also do this if you have a lot of extra space in your screen grab. So now that that's cropped, I want to see what size it is, because I want to make this print quality, which means it needs to be at least 8x10 by at least 300 pixels per inch. So I go to Image and then Image Size. And you can do this in Photopea, you can do this in Photoshop. You know what? I'll set it up this way, and then I'll set it up again in Photopea so you can see. So when image size comes up, I can see that my cropped image is 7.5 inches by 4.5 inches by 72 pixels per inch. That's because I did a screen grab, and 72 is screen resolution, right? So I want to force that a lot bigger. So first, I want to find the limiting factor, and I think it's going to be the height. I want the height to be at least 8 inches. And because this padlock is on, which keeps the proportions the same of height to width, when I put 8 inches there, it changes the width all the way to 13 inches. So my image is going to be at least 8 by 13 inches. I call that the limiting factor, because if I put in 10 inches for the width, then my height would only be 6 inches, and that's less than 8 by 10, and we want at least 8 by 10. Okay, next, the resolution. I want at least 300. So I can put in 300 for the minimum, or I can use my studio resolution, which is 350. Which is just a little above, the standard minimum for print resolution. And then if I feel like my computer can take it, and if you're just using Photopea, I would stick to around 8 by 10 by 300. But I'm on Photoshop here. My computer is powerful enough to handle it. I'm actually going to go to 11 inches instead of 8. So that I have around 11 by 14 inches by 350. That's kind of the best overall format to use for this course, because that allows us to print it at 8 by 10. It allows us to print it at 11 by 14. It even allows us to print it at 16 by 20 inches, which is the largest our printers in the lab can support. which makes for beautiful, finished gallery work. And all of that can be outputted at high enough print resolution from an image that's 11 by 14 inches by 350. And the only reason this is bigger than 11 by 14 is because my rectangle is longer than 11 by 14. And we'll talk a lot more about those resolutions and formats, when we're about to print. But yeah, any questions about setting up your pixel space?
Yeah, would it be beneficial to use a standard print ratio?
So I don't want to limit the vision of your landscape. So in future projects, yes, we're going to contain it into standard sizes like 8 by 10, 11 by 14. But for your landscapes often, you don't want it into a generic rectangle like that necessarily. But if you want to, you can. Like I can force this to be 11 by 14 by going to image size and then unchecking or unclicking the padlock or the chain link, and then just forcing it to be 14. And then my sketch looks like this, which isn't terrible. It's just not what I sketched.
Okay.
So it's up to you, but I don't require you to make them standard formats for this. And one of the reasons for that is when we learn to print for the midterm critique, we're going to learn how to build white space around our images so that it fits into pre-cut mats and still looks good. But that will be something for the midterm. All right. Okay. So why don't I split the difference? Because I don't mind how that looks, but I want it to be a little bit more widescreen. So I'm going to go to image size, and I'm going to make it 11 by 16 inches at 350. But as long as it's larger than 8 by 10 and at least 300 pixels per inch, you are meeting the requirements, and you'll be able to get a nice print of it. All right. So now my pixel size is correct. If I zoom in, I can see that even though I created this sketch digitally and then did a screen grab, you can see how wonky and wavy my lines are. If you did a photograph and then sent it to you, it's going to be even softer when we really push up this resolution. And that's fine because this is just a guideline. So that is setting up my sketch in Photoshop. Now let me really quickly save it, right? With the name I want. So I'm going to say File, Save As. This is my assignment 1. So this is SP23-1. Oh, always got to put my name in there. Assignment 1, Candyland Composite. And then I want to save it as a Photoshop file, PSD. I don't type in PSD, I just change the format. And then I'll put it into my assignment 1 folder, but you could also save it to your desktop. And if you save it to your desktop, you can verify on your desktop that it's there. So this is what I'm working on now.
Quick question. Are you going to show us Photopea? Because I don't have Photoshop on my
Yes.
computer.
So now I'll do the exact same thing in Photopea. You'll see it's identical steps.
Okay.
All right. So now I open up Photopea, just photopea.com from any browser. And I'm going to bring my sketch into it. And this time I'll format the vertical one, because why not? So I bring my sketch on. Then I'm going to use the rulers. Again, Command R on a Mac will turn them on and off. On a PC, I believe it's Control R. And then I'm going to use the Move tool, the top tool, to put guides around the sketch I want to use. Because these are just hand-drawn boxes, right? Now that I have that, I can use the crop tool, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. Make sure that there isn't any width or height already set. And if so, change it to a free ratio rather than a fixed ratio. And then you can just move like a transform box, you just move those corners to match your guides, and they should snap to your guides. You can also just redraw the box around it. And then you hit return, and that crops it. Now, the rulers in Photopea are pixel based rather than inches based. So we want to go to, just like in Photoshop, image, image size. And instead of seeing it in pixels, we want to see it in inches. So right now, my sketch is basically 4 inches by 6 inches at 72 pixels per inch. Even though it says DPI, it's really pixels per inch. And I want to force that up. The limiting factor is going to be, I think, the width. So I want it to be at least 8. And then when I click off of it, because this chain link is checked, that's the default, it's going to lock the ratio. So 8 by 11.8. So that's what it's going to be. But then I need to up the DPI to at least 300. But I would recommend for the studio 350. And Photopea isn't as powerful as Photoshop, but it should be able to handle that resolution.
A quick question. Can you tell me how to do that? Because I got lost when you got from image size. How to
Sure.
get there.
So I can go back. So have you cropped it?
Yes.
Okay. So image size, you'll find at the top options, just like in Photoshop, that there's an image option. And then under image is image size. Image size will tell you everything about the pixels. How many there are, what the physical dimensions are, and then what the resolution is, the pixels per inch. This is where we can alter that. We can grow the pixels or we can reduce them. In this case, we're going to grow them. So we're going to take it first in its physical dimensions, make sure it says inches, not pixels. And we're going to make it at least 8 by 10. So mine's a little bit longer than an 8 by 10 rectangle, so it's going to be 8 by 11.88. And then you want your, what it says DPI, but it really means pixels per inch. You want that to be 300 or 350. And you have to have resample checked, otherwise it won't let you change from the original pixels. And what that will do when you hit OK is it will kind of zoom in, and you'll see how it makes your original lines a lot blurrier, but that's fine. Then I'm going to hit Command 0 or Control 0 on a PC to fit it onto the screen. And now I know I have a print quality resolution. And I'm going to get off the crop tool here. Just click on the move tool. And then I'm going to save it. So how do you save it in Photopea in a way that you can use it in class? Click on File. Then go to, this is actually my favorite way. You could say save as a PSD, but then it just does it and it puts it to your downloads and you don't get to control much about it. So I'm going to go to Save More. And then I'm going to click on Save PSD/PSB. And when I click on that, it gives me the option for a PSD format. It gives me the option to save it, and it shows me how much memory it takes. So as long as it's...
What unit are we on?
We are on unit 4, I believe.
Okay. I just wanted to double check, make sure I'm not doing the wrong one.
Yeah, and that's assignment 1. Yep.
Okay.
So we're working on assignment 1, getting our sketch ready. So when I click here, so save, it's going to call it, it shows me what it calls it in Photopea. I don't get to rename it here, but what I can do is then go to Downloads, or wherever your computer downloads, and I can see it, and then I can rename it there. So Spring 23-1, Karl, Assignment 1, and this is Candyland Vertical as a PSD. And I'll go ahead and put that onto the desktop as well. So now this is the trick to really using Photopea effectively. Once you've saved it and you've you can clearly see it